Well, Robert Earl Dean, we got a great interview for us
man,
today,
this is an
man.
incredible interview.
Who do we got with us, bro?
All you people that are listening in the 21 countries and watching right now, go get your sons and your young daughters. This man right here is going to give us a good message, a message of hope, a message of encouragement, and a message to take you through the rest of your life. We have none other than the author, the speaker, the mental health therapist, the life coach, former professional football player, but brother to all of us, Mr. Jay Barnett. Welcome to the Wake Up Morning Show.
Hey, Mr. Robert, how you doing, man?
Man, I am blessed. We're just so honored to have you. You've been so busy on national television and on all these different committees and summits. We are just blessed to have you.
Yeah, man, I'm blessed to be on here. We finally made it happen, man. I know we've been talking about it for a while.
Right.
But we finally made it happen, man. So I'm excited to be on this morning to talk with you guys.
Well, this is Dr. LT, and I want to make sure that you're ready for this interview because I'm going to pull some things out on you, brother. So let me first start off. Have you ever seen the Johnson Family Vacation with Cedric the Entertainer and Steve Harvey?
Yeah.
I'll be like that cousin come and say, man, we so proud of you. Man, you really doing your thing. You know, let me hold something.
Yeah.
Well, he's holding something. Look at his shirt. That's enough for us to hold. That's more valuable than money.
Well, you know, the brother looked at little Bow Wow and said, let me hold something. He said, I don't got no money. He said, what size them shoes? And Bow Wow responded, my size.
Right.
He said, you tripping. So, bro, let's just start off by updating us on where you are at today, you know, from being a phenomenal professional ball player to being this great motivational speaker. Let's start off when you was a kid. What was your dreams and your hopes when you were a kid?
Well, to be honest, my dreams was to be like my father, and my father was a football player, a very great one, and he sung quartet. So I played the drums for his group when I was a kid, and he started pastoring when I was about 7 or 8, I want to say. So for me, growing up,
Okay, wait a minute. I got to give you some rules. You just can't you just can't say my father. You got to call the name out,
Right.
the team, the church. You got to give the details. They want to know the details of who you talking about because they be like, who his daddy? Does he know his daddy? You know.
So my dad is Pastor Jimmy Barnett Sr. He's a pastor in Mississippi, St. Peter Missionary Baptist Church. You know, you got to get a missionary.
Right, right.
Yeah, they're missionaries.
Right.
Missionary.
Right.
You know, so my uncle played in the league. My cousins played in the league. So I came from a very athletic family. You know, of ball players. So football for me did not come something that I aspired to until late in my life. But as a kid, man, I just wanted to do whatever my dad was doing at the time. And if he was singing, I wanted to sing. If he was preaching, I wanted to preach. If he was, you know, well, I didn't get a chance to see him play, but, you know, I always heard from other guys in the town, you know, how great my dad was. And so I just wanted to try to, in some way, to live up to that as much as I possibly can. So that's what I was working toward, you know, or what I thought about when I was a kid. I did not see what I am today, you know, being a therapist or being a face of mental health for black men. Did not see any of that.
Okay, so,
Wow.
you know, I just have to say that, you know, inquiring minds want to know, you know, I look around when I talk to people and, you know, they just celebrated Tina Turner and because her life, they got a new series out on her in her life. And I look on the back wall and you got this like hit section and who do I see at the top but Tina Turner? Let's talk about
man.
what you got on the wall.
Yeah, man. I'm a huge fan of Tina. I'm a huge fan of Tina Marie.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
I'm huge Tina Marie fan. I have Earl and his brothers. I got Eddie Murphy, one of his comedian albums, and then I got the Sugar Hill Gang, and then I think also who's else on there? And I got the Soul, man, the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin.
Okay.
Well, he got some nostalgia, some strong folk.
Yeah, I got one more trivia question for you here. Coming to America 1 or Coming to America 2?
Oh, Coming to America 1.
Okay.
Hands
Right.
down.
Right.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Man. So many classic lines in there. You know what I mean? It was.
Yeah.
So many classic lines in there.
And my last thing I need to ask you, if you can help us out with this. The young lady who played the not Lisa McDowell, but her sister, her name is Allison Dean. We trying to get in touch with her because I really truly believe that that's Robert Earl Dean's cousin. You know, I looked at her features. I said, that's a Dean. You know what I'm saying? That is a Dean. Even Robert looked at it.
She does look like our family.
Yeah, man. Okay, so trivia's over.
Okay.
Yes, let's get to this this ministry of yours, because I see everything that you do, and I followed you before we ever started communicating. You have a ministry. Your mindset is ministry. Let's dive into what led you to start mentoring these young people and speaking into their lives and stuff.
Well, one of the things, Robert, when I stopped playing ball, I wanted to stay connected to sports. And I was living in Houston, and my background was sports performance. And so I created a business called Beast Mode Incorporated, and I work with track, football, soccer, hockey, baseball, whatever sports you name it. And so I built a reputation on this beast mode training. Kids from all over, man. Kids was driving an hour to work with me because my training methods were focusing not only on just the sports performance side, but the mental capacity. I'll give you an example. So I used to do this one drill with athletes where they would get on a treadmill. The treadmill is going about 10 miles an hour, and they're on there and they're calling out their ABCs. And people would be in the gym and asking, like, why you have them doing that? What I want them to do is to learn how to control their breathing. And so if they were able to talk and while they were sprinting, this also allowed them to take control of of their physical part of it, because physically you're like, man, I can't breathe, I can't talk.
Right.
But once they got control in their mind, they was able to slow their heart rate down. And you know this because I know you work with track. When you can slow that heart rate down, you can control your breathing, and you can control when you need to hit it and when you need to dial back. And so these things just grew. And man, I had up probably 200 kids in my program. Mm-hmm. I had pro athletes, I had NBA guys, NFL guys. I had great friends of mine that my training helped them to get, these big contracts. And man, one day, Robert, God told me to leave it all, man. And he said, I'm talking about, I have built a bona fide business.
Wow.
And I had turned down three partners had offered me lots of money to open a huge facility. And I just said, no, man, I just could never get into, I don't know, God just never let me went that direction. And I gave my entire business format, training methods, everything. I gave it to one of my mentees, the entire business model. And God said, I want you to focus on developing mental, because what had happened was all of my kids were getting scholarships, but no one was finishing school.
Yes.
So they were going to college, but they were not finishing. And I said, what was going on?
They weren't prepared.
Now, on the field, they was killing it. I mean, mindset was on another level on the field. Mm-hmm. I mean, these kids, everything was beast mode. And at the time, I had this before Marshawn Lynch, and then my best friend who had started playing, he was playing in Buffalo when Marshawn Lynch began the whole beast mode. And so we kind of, merged together and started doing some things, and with my good friend. Mm-hmm. And what I realized is that these kids had not developed psychologically, mentally, and physiologically, but they were very equipped and adept from a physical spectrum. Mm-hmm. And I got involved in mentoring, and I created another program, which was the Me Project and the We Project. And both of these programs were 5 weeks self-development programs that I took into the schools, and I started doing it for free. And it started growing, and the program turned into my first book, because the program components were built off of things that I needed after my parents' divorce.
Wow.
Self-identity, mental endurance, and mental toughness. Having a vision, uh, being able to build self-development skills professionally. How to speak, and so I incorporated all of these things into 5 weeks, and they continue to grow. And one day, man, I'm working in a group home facility, and the lady said, "You're doing the work of a therapist." And I was like, "No way," because my stuff was group format, so similar to like group therapy.
Hmm.
And she said, "No, Jake, you really should consider this, man." So I prayed about it. So my spiritual mentor said, he said, "You need to go back to school, man." And I was like, "Bro, I'm not going back to
Right.
school." I'm like, I already did 4 years
Yep.
in undergrad. I'm not doing it. And I prayed about it. Fast forward, I got accepted, went into grad school. From the first day in class, which was fundamentals of family therapy, man, the first day in class after going through the material, I knew that was where I was supposed to be because I started learning more about my family dynamics, my family system, and that led me on this path to the field of being in the field of mental health.
Now, how did your parents' divorce affect you? Because being a track coach and him being a counselor himself in the San Diego Unified School District, we see that parents sometimes don't really think about their children when they're going through a divorce, and it has, even in my family, has devastated our young men, especially to where they start going in a whole other direction. That's important. Let's hit on that.
Well, for me, my parents' divorce, it was tough because my dad was a pastor at the time. And not only did the divorce affect our family image, it
Hmm.
also affects our identity as individuals, as
Hmm.
kids.
Hmm.
Because now I no longer have this model and I no longer have this guy that I was looking after.
Yep.
And, I've always been transparent. There was a lot of infidelity and and
Right.
it was so bad to where I felt like, man, how do I restructure my mind that I want to still be like this guy?
Right. Wow.
And of course, when you're 13, you don't understand forgiveness. You don't understand those things. You just know I can't stand this guy. I hate him.
Yep.
I'm seeing my mom crying. I'm seeing we having to move, and it was just because part of us moving and leaving and moving in Texas was really my mom wanted to really get away from the shame and the embarrassment.
Yes.
And so for me, it was embarrassing because now I had to deal with what other kids were saying because we were still in school.
Wow.
And so that affected my mindset, that affected my ability to really see myself
Hmm.
be in the eyes of my father. And for most kids, divorce always affects how you view relationships moving forward.
Yep.
It determines, and I don't want to say determine, but it really affects how you see yourself in life. Because now, if the divorce was bad, you probably feel torn as
Hmm.
a child.
Hmm.
You probably feel like you have to pick a side. You probably feel like they only cared about themselves and they didn't really care about the kid
Hmm.
because that's usually the case in a lot of divorces
Hmm.
that parents are so focused on the divorce that they forget how that impacts the children.
Yes, sir.
And that's how it affected me, man. And so I started self-harming. And so I became a cutter uh, during my teenage years. And so I
Wow.
used to cut on myself bad.
Okay,
And
stop right there. Stop right there.
Wow, man.
Okay, and the reason I'm stopping you, number one, because I've developed African American male and female projects, and I've worked with kids for over 37 years. I'm getting ready to retire from the system. But there's something that you just said that a lot of parents and family members don't really realize happen with African American kids,
Hmm.
and that's cutting. Let's talk a little bit about that as you go through the story. I don't want people to know. People don't really even understand what cutting is, and most parents have never even heard of it because in the realm that I've dealt with, I normally see that with Latinos and
Yes.
white kids.
Correct.
I don't
yeah,
see that
yeah.
with black kids. So let's
No.
talk
Oh, you
about
see
that.
it a lot. You
Yeah.
see it a lot.
Yeah.
You see it a lot amongst, especially when I was working with girls in group homes because I had programs in girls group home, boys group home. I was all over Houston in with my programs. For me, the self harm is, and I want to explain to parents, self harm is a physical reaction to internal pain.
Wow.
Most of the pains that the kids have been internalized. And what happened is that I'm dealing with so much pain inside, my only reaction is to cause harm or cause pain to myself on the outside. So it's almost this swap in a sense to where I'm going to exchange this inner for the outer. And basically what it is, it's a numbing agent. Because if I can harm myself, I don't feel this pain.
Right.
But inducing pain, or causing pain to myself allows me to forget about the pain that I'm dealing with on the inside.
Yes.
And so many black kids are oppressed inwardly because there are no safe spaces.
Yes. Correct.
Because do I really want to go to school and really talk about what's going on at home? Do I really want to go to school and talk about the lights are off? We haven't eaten in 3 days.
Yes.
Do I really want to talk about that? Do I really want to talk about the abuse that I'm seeing in my home? So it's not a easy process. And what I've always given parents advice or suggestions is to give attention to your child's behavior and their patterns of functioning or how they move when certain things happen in their life. And for me, no one paid attention to me because, as you both know, for little black boys, there's no safe spaces.
No.
So everybody just told me, Jay, you got to take care of your mom. You're the man of the house. But no one asked me how I felt.
Right.
And I had 2 younger sisters. So here I am. I'm being a father to them, but also acting as a surrogate husband to my mom because she's looking to me for strength. And how many times do we see young black males being thrust into the role of these male figures, and their childhood and their adolescent years are robbed because they have to put on this image that I'm the man of the house, but he's still a boy. He's still a child.
Right.
So that was for me. So when I got to football practice, the cutting was ineffective because now I can put this helmet on and I can run it through your chest.
Right.
So that was an exchange. And what we see when guys are not involved in sports, where do you see this anger come out? Robbing?
Gangs.
Gangs. And so the self-harm becomes self-destructive because now I may not be causing harm to myself, but my behavior toward others can be self-harming from the consequences that I might have to incur.
Yes, sir.
In that matter.
So let me ask you a question. Hearing your story, hearing that, parents divorced, you had to become the man of the house, quote unquote. How did you learn how to build healthy relationships with not only people, but even the opposite sex?
Well, man, listen, I'll be 39 in 3 weeks. And I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't learn that, man, probably until a few years ago. Because as I was in school, in grad school, becoming a therapist, the coursework really takes you through another journey of healing. Because I started therapy right around 30, and so I've been on this journey now almost 9 years, and that's
okay. I'm gonna stop you because I want to make sure. Again, what type of college did you go to?
So I went to I went to Charleston State. I played football there 4 years, undergrad, and then I did grad school at NCU, and then I'm doing my doctoral program there as well.
No, NCU University. Is that an HBCU?
No, sir. It's not.
Okay. Because see, a lot of times the reason why I ask that is that many times when you go through graduate programs at an HBCU, it's more nurturing to do it. But you're saying that you went to a graduate program, and then that graduate program also was your therapy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's take it up from there. I just wanted to get that, make sure I saw that. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, because what happened is, like, what you realize is that the relationships that you have had the most experience in becomes the narrative that you create for all relationships.
Right.
Right? Because now I was dealing with father wounds issues. I was dealing with abandonment issues.
Yes.
I was dealing with rejection issues. So it's not until you go through and begin to heal your perspectives and your belief system from what you've experienced in previous or past relationships that determines how you see others and how you're able to build a healthy relationship. Because what I tell people often, the relationship you have with yourself is going to determine the relationship you have with others.
Yes, sir.
And many of us don't have healthy relationship with ourselves
Nope.
because we were formed and reared in unhealthy relational systems, and that started with our families.
And it starts when we're children. I always tell a lot of my track kids and adults that what you're experiencing started from your childhood, and they start thinking back and it was like, you know what? This did happen in such and such and such and such, and now I'm like such and such. So our childhoods, parents, you got to guard your children and pray over them and protect them, because a lot of the damage starts, and then we grow up and we laugh through it and we do sports through it, and it's toxic.
So
Very.
I want to ask this question because, I was able to reunite with my father when I was 41 years old.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Um,
Congratulations, man.
Before my mother passed away and everything else of that nature, I was very blessed to be in a very healthy environment, even though my parents were divorced. But what spurred me connecting with my biological father had to do with the fact that I was doing male counseling groups, and I was hearing the toxicity that was coming from these young men towards their father because of their disappointment and all the
Yes.
things that go on. And we had to work through those issues. So now you're getting ready to be 39 years old. You have two sisters, a mother and a father. How have you helped rebuild the structure of your family narrative?
Well, rebuilding the structure for me was also changing a lens that I was looking through for me. Because one of the things is that I had to learn is that my parents were who they were.
Yes.
Their way of doing things were from a system from their own unresolved issues and traumas, and that I could not control or determine if they would heal or if they would not heal. So the healing that I needed was for me rather than it was for them or for my family system. Now, however, my healing will determine the family system that I build for my wife and my kids, when I get those things. But one of the things that it taught me is I had to learn how to build healthy boundaries for myself. And the boundaries that I set were not for them, but they were for me. Because one of the things is that, because mental health is still new for Black people.
Yes.
I mean, you know this from being a counselor.
Okay,
that
stop
mental health
again.
field-
Restate that again. See, when you hit those nuggets,
some
I'm gonna make
nuggets.
you
Come on.
really restate it again,
Right.
because a lot of people don't do it. Because when we pray about it, we don't want to talk about
We
it.
want to we want to shout over it.
Yeah.
So hit that again, sir.
Yeah, so the mental health field was not for Black people, and you know this from being a counselor. When you look at the theories, you look at the methods. Even if you look at the men that were pioneers in the psycho analytical field, analysis field, it was not for African Americans. Many of their theories and methods were built for Anglos and Europeans. And so, because here's what they understood. If you got your mind right, you could get your life right. And that's what they understood. So the mental health field is still new to Black people. There's things that we're still learning. So my healing was for me to change my lens so I can change my outlook on life. I can change my outlook on how I saw other Black men.
Yes.
Because when boys have these experiences growing up, it alters their perception not only of themselves, but of even other Black men.
Yes. Yes.
So it makes it hard for them to encounter or interact with Black men. This is why you have a lot of Sauls in churches.
Yep.
And this is why you have a lot of Sauls outside of the church arena too, because you have a lot of Davids who are running around who are dealing with rejection.
Yes.
Saul kind of have this prominent place, but it's hard for the Saul to see the potential that David has. So now David grows up undeveloped. He grows up remaining insecure, lack of self-esteem, lack of self-confidence, and now he has this complex about himself that makes it difficult for him to look at another man and call him king. And a lot of this is associated with the system, and I'm using metaphorically the Davids because there's a lot of grown males that are still functioning as boys because none of the issues were
Well
addressed.
addressed. Yes. Yes, sir.
Amen.
That's true. Now let's talk about your program at Texas Southern for incoming male freshmen.
Yeah, so the King program, which is the acronym Knowledge is Necessary Gain,
Hmm.
is an 8-week development program for incoming freshmen at Texas Southern. Most of you know a lot of these kids that come into these HBCUs, many of them are first generational college students.
Yes, sir.
So we developed this program to not only help these young men to be able to uh, uh, thrive in their first year experience, but also to develop the skill set on how to do college. Because there's a certain skill set, there's a certain level of thinking that you have to have.
Yep.
There's a certain level of function, time management,
Yep.
goals,
Yes.
things of that nature. Being able to have a student life and a social life to
Yes.
be balanced. And that's what our program does. And it also allows them to see other men, not only just myself, who are successful, whether they've gone to HBCU or not,
Right.
but to allow them to get in connection and to begin building partnership with other men that look like them that has been successful.
So let me ask you this question. You played in the big leagues. You created a very successful business and gave it away. You're back in school. You're doing your PhD. You're still doing training. You're still doing motivational speaking. How have you evolved and I want to say it this way. I know some ball players to this very day that are doing things still trying to hear the roar of the crowd. And so the things that they're doing is because they still need to hear the crowd. But it sounds like the roar of the crowd is not motivating you anymore. There's another roar that's literally impacting you now.
Yeah. No, and that's good, man. And I like how you said that. It's most definitely not the roar in the crowd. It's more the roar within my soul at this point. Because, and I'll be even more transparent. I lost a very close friend of mine on Tuesday. And it's been a tough week, man, emotionally. And I've never experienced grief on this level that I'm experiencing now, even to the point where I'm having dreams of seeing his face. It's been a very unusual process. And as I'm working through this, I think one of the things is really remaining in alignment with what I've been called and chosen to do. And the roar is a young man or a young woman or a young lady or a young girl who leaves my office or they close out their laptops because we're doing virtual sessions now. And they said, thank you for helping me to unlock my mind. And now my perspective has shifted. I think that roar now is more important because I know that this roar not only enhances the quality of someone's life, but it also impacts another generation. Because every time we heal, now our behavior, our human function, our thinking, it becomes impactful because now that's something that people get to encounter. Because most of us are encountering broken people on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, sir.
And so for me, that's become more important. The great Miles Monroe says, life is not about what you get, but it's about who you are becoming. And so for me, that's so important about who am I becoming. And, looking at my friend that, just passed away unexpectedly. And it's one of those thoughts because your own mortality you begin to think about that.
Yes, you do.
And for me, it's more about, God forbid, but something happened, what will be said about you after you're gone?
Your legacy.
And not just and what have you left behind that will still help others? That's why I started writing books, and that's why I started creating programs, because I wanted to be remembered in a way that people are not just saying he was a good guy,
Right.
but people are saying that, what he left behind can help the generations to come. And that's what's, been my inspiration to keep pushing. And that's what really been the roar that I really, continue to wake up each day, man. Because when you look at it and when it's all said and done and we all have to, transition,
Yes.
I think when we look at, Dr. King, you look at Fred Hampton, you look at Malcolm X, you look at all of these, the W. Du Bois and all of
Yes.
these men that I admire, and, that I looked up to, just from reading about them, the Carter G. Woodsons and, those men, man. So it's the things that they left behind, we're still, gleaning from it. We're still being impacted by it. So that's where I get my inspiration from.
All right, so we're going to role play right quick. I'm going to go ring, ring, and you're going to say hello, okay? Ready?
All right.
Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hello. This call is coming from the Vice President's office at the United States, Ms. Kamala Harris. Please hold. Brother Barnett, we know that you're doing such a great job in your field. We want you to create yourself a position in the cabinet. What would you like to do to help the United States?
I would want to be an advisor.
Okay. In which way? What would you be advising?
I would probably say a mental health advisor.
Okay. All right. So if you had an opportunity to be in the White House and working with the White House, you would want to be an advisor on mental health. Now,
Yes.
Would it be just globally, or would you specialize in children of color?
I would specialize in children of color.
Okay. All right. One of the things I'm saying, because I think we have to speak those things into fruition, and I think that is so important that now that we as African Americans are starting to talk about mental health. Again, we are not saying that you should not pray about it, that you should not go to the Lord about it, but counseling is very important, and we need to now begin to see it, understand that therapy is healthy, and that we need to continue to be poster children of those saying, don't just sit and be in your misery and in your grief. There's help out there for you. So let me ask you this, sir. If at this point I'm really interested in getting help, give some advice of where people can go to get connected and to get good, healthy, and even to find Black therapists.
So, one, I would encourage everyone to go follow the Boris Henson Foundation, which was created by actress Taraji P. Henson, good friend of mine, and I also work with her. It is a great platform, especially for Black men. They allow you to get up to like 5 free sessions. They have some phenomenal therapists, and all you have to do is go look up the Boris Henson Foundation. It's a foundation that she created for her father. It's in the name of her father. Also, you can check Psychology Today to find out the local therapists in your area. And then I think there's also a Black therapist app. I mean, not app, but an Instagram on social media that you can find Black therapists, Black females and Black male therapists in your area. As you know, 89% of psychologists are white. And only 4% are Black male or female counselors or therapists in this mental health field, with 1% being Black males. And I share this story all the time. I was one of 72 to graduate from my grad program, and I was the only Black male.
Wow.
So it's one of those things where I have been called on so much since the pandemic started. It's overwhelming, because as we're waking up and normalizing talking about certain things, we also got to think about having 4% of therapists be African Americans trying to service 13% of the population, which is Black.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let me ask you this question. Could you do us a favor once we finish this interview? Can you send to Robert Earl Dean the different links and the different things that you sent in a statement along with your photo? We're going to actually post it on social media to make sure that people know this information and that we can pin it on several different sites. because we want to make sure that our children of color, our families of color, understand that it is okay to go to therapy. It is okay to still believe in God and still need a therapist. And I think for you, and I want to say this real straight, from a straight perspective, when they see a strong African American man that look like a real bruh talk about therapy, it literally opens the door for other people to say, if my bruh who played professional ball,
Yes.
who went through this, can say, yes, we need it, hey, I could believe it too. Let me try this therapy thing out.
It's position. God chose Jay to do what he do, to go through everything he went through for this generation now. Because these kids are more visual than anything else. Why is this? Why is that? So God allowed you to play professional because that gave you the platform, and then for you to walk from step to step. He did it because you're impacting other people. And I want to go into teenage suicide because with this COVID, even in the black high schools, or the more brown and black high schools, you're seeing more kids committing suicide more than ever. And we weren't known primarily for doing that. The other races were, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a white thing, man. I mean, even
growing up.
Even when I was coming up, it was a white thing. And for those of you that follow my story, and I've been transparent and been open about my struggles with that. I'm a 2-time suicide survivor, so I talk about the drug overdose that I took when I attempted. So it's very real in the black community, and also just to go a little further, ages 14 to 24 in black males, suicide is the third leading cause of death.
Jesus.
And that's a statistic.
Stop. Throw that nugget out again because they need to hear it.
Wow.
Yeah, in ages 14 to 24, suicide is the third leading cause of death in young black males.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of young black males that are committing suicide at a very high rate than what we do not know, that it's not discussed. And that's something that you can find on the CDC website.
Jesus.
And and as Robert said, especially right now, and this is why mental health is so important, especially for athletes. My good friend and co-host Marcus Smith. Right now we are what we're preparing for is our new talk show, which is the King's Table, that will be airing this summer. And basically, it's a red table talk for black men and men of color. I mean, we're going to be talking about everything, and Marcus will be there. He's a former NFL athlete. He'll be there representing the everyday man. I'll be there as the clinician and the expert. But we're going to talk about a lot of different things, and I think suicide amongst young black males is something that's been overlooked. And as Robert's saying, it's because it's been viewed as, well, that's something white people do.
Yep.
But even in movies when we were growing up, right, when kids were taking their lives, it was just kind of like, that's a white thing.
Right.
Black kids didn't do those things. And especially right now, it's such a challenge socially for these teenagers, and especially if these kids were not already in a safe environment.
Correct.
And these kids are home every day with parents who did not provide for them and did not provide the care that they needed. And now you add on the fact that, you're in the midst of a pandemic. It's very difficult for these kids mentally. And so I think as we're growing in this space of mental health, it's so important for us to really give attention to athletes, because I still believe that athletes are the most underserved population when it comes to mental health, because people look at athletes as, you can take it.
Yes.
If you knew the number of athletes that I've known, college and professionally, that have taken their lives, it will blow you away. And so it's important that we go back and grab these kids and create, these spaces. And then again, we also have to encourage our young black males that if you don't go to college, if you don't go to the pros, there's still a space for you to really create something to help build other young people, because it's needed.
Wow,
man.
that's good.
When you think about it, it's not. Robert, I can be honest, man. I can probably count on maybe one hand of 5 black male therapists that I know, and the ones that I do know are overworked right now.
So, brother, I want to say this. One of the things that we here at GOD Radio One, we do believe in therapy, and we do believe in people going through it. We used to have a show on our station called Mindful Wellness, and our mental wellness show with Dr. Malik. I'm going to connect you with him because he has a book out called My Silent Loud that is literally
Well, it's
talking about
amazing.
his journey as a young African American male to this today, and what he's talking to his young men about. He's also a therapist, and then every second and fourth Thursday we have mindful moments with 3 black therapists, women, literally breaking these issues down. This is a movement. I want you to continue to be available because I would love to have you as a part of the format to have these type of conversations. And so I'm going to be trying to connect people because we in the church body have to come together so that we can literally let people know that you can go through therapy, you can live healthy lives, that suicide happens in the church, drug overdose happens in the church, depression happens in the church, and we have to have good Christian therapists available that also look like us to help us through this time. So I want to applaud you.
Oh, he's amazing.
And thank you for giving us the time. I want to say to be continued because this can't be over. You my new bruh. You know,
Man,
and you
appreciate it,
you could call me anytime. We're gonna do this thing because I know that God has you on assignment, and I know that He's brought our assignments together
Yes.
to do a great work. Robert?
That's why it's so important to have good role model coaches. A lot of times people try to downplay us coaches because you're a coach too, and he's a coach in his way as well. These young men and women have a chance to spend time with us, and they start telling you stuff without you asking because they need that father figure. They need that big brother. So parents, it's nothing wrong with putting your children in sports. Not saying football all the time, but you have
Right.
soccer, you have baseball, you have tennis. We've have so many influential African Americans doing so well in so many different diverse sports. There's no excuse now. And that's a part of some nourishment and development is sports because you get all that energy going and testosterone and all that energy, and it creates discipline, teach you how to work with multiple people.
Yeah.
It's-
When
it's
you have
important.
coaches that love you more than they love the sport.
Yep.
When you have coaches that love you more than they love the sport,
Yes.
they will sow into you to make sure that you are healthy and
Yes.
well-rounded.
Yes.
My friend, with the pandemic, with the social unrest that we've been impacted by over the last year plus, any final statements you would like to make before we move forward?
Yes, thank you guys for having me on this morning. And Robert, thank you, brother, for being so persistent to get me, and so glad that we were able finally
Yes, sir.
to connect. I want to encourage everyone, man, to continue to put your mental health first.
Yes.
And what I mean about your mental health is, and I'm not just talking about, because when we talk about mental health, people often think about depression and they start thinking about mental health issues. But mental health meaning that your quality of living, mental, physical, and spiritually and emotionally, those things are important. And because we're, even with this trial,
Yes.
be aware and be conscious
Yes.
to not, allow a lot of that to go into your system, because it will anger you,
Yes.
will hit a trigger. And so you want to maintain control of your eye gates and your ear gates, but also, as I like to call your mind, your control system. You want to be conscious of what you're allowing to go into that, because we're in this time where there's a lot of people who are already on edge. And if you're triggered, either one of us could be set off at any time.
Yes.
But if you're aware of not only just your triggers, but aware of what you need to stabilize your mental health, it gives you the greater opportunity to control the outcome. And
Yeah.
so, I just want to leave everyone with that.
Do you have merchandise? Because I like that hoodie.
Yeah, so
Is that
you
yours?
can go to healgirlheal.com, healgirlheal.com, and you can find all the Heal merchandise there. And also, I have an online coaching and counseling platform, kjbcoaching.com. and I do couples, I do families, I do individuals, and that is kjbcoaching.com.
Amen. One of the things, brother, we're going to be a conduit. We have a very famous animator and director on the line by the name of Jerry Bryce, who just happens to be Robert Earl Dean's cousin. He has been part of his job with working with Al Roker and KPBS is to bring on black psychologists and so that they can help. And so he's hiring a team. So we're going to try to connect you
Can I
with
connect
that.
you with him?
We also. Hold on, let me go.
Okay.
You're gonna be the full connect.
Oh, no.
You know, when I say connection, it's right there. You
Right.
Robert Earl Dean, Wikipedia. All right. Also, we actually have Stacy Dent, who is one of the high officials with San Diego Unified School District, and so I know that there's going to be tap-in. So a lot of educators, a lot of college deans are on the line listening to this right now. So we want you to be prepared that folks are going to be reaching out, and there's a cadre of psychologists, both female and male. Cadre.
Come on through. Come on, education.
Female and male that we have that are under contract with us and our radio station that we're going to connect you with to build the different areas, because we have them in South Carolina, here in San Diego, but we're in North Carolina, but we're building this movement. And we want to thank you for allowing God to use you. We want to thank you that you are still here, that you are one of our kings, that you are valuable. We need you. And we want to let you know anytime that you need us, we're just a phone call away.
Thank you.
Can I get amen?
Appreciate it, God.
Amen. I love that hoodie.
Yeah. Any final words, Robert?
Robert Earl, DM me your address, and I'll have her ship you out a care package.
Yeah. See, look at there. Won't God do it?
He will do it. Hey,
yes.
Praise the Lord.
And you know, I want you to know the blood still works.
The blood still works.
The blood still works.
On this resurrection weekend.
Right here on GOD Radio 1.com.